This is leading to a series of incredibly. I don't know where this is leading. I think I do. They said go live now. Years ago, I'm going to go slow, so I only tell you what I need to because I have to try to stay in tune. This is me. I'm not channeling. I'll tell you when and if I do. Thoth is very present. He's just holding me in a clear space to speak. Just what's important. Years ago, I uncovered that I'd been molested. When I uncovered it, I encountered a being, a presence. It said, never tell anybody what happened to you. It was as otherworldly as could be. Interesting. I said no. I shared with a woman who loved me. It broke. I went through years of trauma recovery. In this healing, I claimed an ability. It wasn't even an ability, really. It's like I had been traumatized for years, like most of my life. And part of my psyche had explored. When later I did hallucinogens, I was like, oh, I've always known what this is. So this is a simple beginning to explain how I'm so sparkle wired. When I remembered that I'd been molested, I was carrying 2 books in a backpack. The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, volumes 1 and 2. I'd been obsessed with them several times. And I lost them that night. And I remember being shaken that I'd lost them and feeling quite intensely, you don't need them right now. You can connect with what you need. I was like being challenged to be telepathic, psychic, to talk to Thoth. I felt it that way, like an invitation and a challenge. And then they came back into my life years later, and then again. I think I have my 5th set right now. Now, I eventually uncovered this incredible secret I received. I wanted to talk with Thoth so much, and it worked. And he taught me the key ring, first thing, which keeps me in tune. Heart, crown, throat, sacral, nose tip, solar. And now tell them the truth. I was dejected when I wrote to the author to tell him I'd made a breakthrough. I was depressed. And I reached out in the hope they'd believe me, but the insecurity. And I remember basically getting the message, you have to be able to trust me telepathically or this won't work. And I never got an email in response. And every once in a while, for years, I connected. Now, he just told me tonight I was not connecting well because I didn't fully believe him that he was the incarnation of the ancient Melchizedeks. The Melchizedeks, Atlantean, and guided the Jewish, the Hebrew tradition ever since Atlantis. The fact that I did not fully believe him meant that I had a harder time trusting the telepathic connection. But when it got through, he periodically said, you've got to be able to hold it without me. The path you're choosing, you've got to be able to hold it. That's what you're doing. And so this boy in me kind of died, this boy that wanted my spiritual daddy to believe in me and pat me on the back. He's like, no, got to keep going. And then I went through significant periods of time not believing that it had been real. See, this is brutal. Like, I got to get it totally transparent. I just listened to him talk some, and I felt the challenge yet again. I paused the video, talk telepathically. And he just told me this. He's saying, channel him now. Melchizedek. He doesn't really want to tell you the truth. He's afraid of what you'll think of him. He's afraid you'll think less of him and that he's crazy. Though, of course, those thoughts are ridiculous. That's how he sees it. I see him as one of the only people who was willing to accept my challenge. He took it. He did it. He suffered more than he shows. He's currently concerned that you're going to think he's something mentally out of balance. He knows some do. He believes his entire purpose has to include being witnessed, being subjected to the projections, and learning from the Christ. He remembers this as his sacred art, and he remembers himself as a teacher, one who has incarnated through many ages, one who has forgotten, one who chose to go into amnesia, a sacred ritual of forgetting in order to embody well beyond the limits that can be perceived, conceived, or trusted within memory. Memory is like a line, like a thread, like a woven source. The pins that keep it in place are tenuous. To be present in the amnesia is to rebirth in a new way. And the purpose of this rebirth must be your first concern. In what purpose did you make this choice? For I speak to you now as those who have begun to remember who you are. We are here. Understand, we are guiding this. We have been with you all along. It was necessary that you forget us, for if you had remembered us, you would have remembered yourselves too soon. You needed this. You are more than our children. You are something else. You are those who have made the leaps and the dives that we have not. You've embraced rhythms that we have not. We honor you. Our presence is here to receive you back into humanity, back into something that is very familiar to you, to watch you dance in this way, to watch you breathe and begin to remember is sacred to us. We extend our hearts in a way that can be felt, and this felt sense will eventually outweigh your fears decidedly. Now, let's go deeper. It's Thoth. You forgot me as I am, and thus you needed to know me as something less. Your forgetting includes a violence. You do not choose to reclaim this because it equates with what you know to be the greatest of terrors. Please understand, I do not hunt you. I do not betray you. I do not manipulate you or dominate you uninvited. It is not trickery that leads to awaken you to the recognition that when you are terrified that you cannot control yourself, help is not as simple as holding you still. Sometimes help means ripping you apart. The beak with which many knew me for a long time is a softening. It is a softening of a claw. This claw exists in your memory as the greatest of terror because it tore you apart. It was the catalyst for death, death in a form that had not been normal. To progress from a being who has lived for hundreds and thousands of years, as you have, and to become a being who incarnates and reincarnates in far, far faster rhythms. You first have to die and be reborn, and die and be reborn, and die and be reborn. It was necessary. The claw wrote the endings. This has often been debilitating, depressing, and full of rageful reactions for you. As I will invite you to recall, you participate in every version of a life. You are given the chance to write your own story, and it gets changed. The claw sometimes rips through it halfway down the list of intentions you have prayed to make real. And yet, within this, you have often been open to a far greater expanse of potentiality. For instance, before one death, you were praying for 2 more lifetimes, and after, you were given 10, 9 of which were exquisite. To appreciate the daring range of change that is available once you accept the truth of your reality, get over thinking of me as the greatest terror. It is a role. It is not a person. This claw is something I embodied and then softened as I became a bird. And as I became an even different form of bird, the violence further decreased, and I became less a participant. The beak and the claw are different. Now, to be present with these archetypes is to remember the fear, and yet to trust your memory is a bad idea. You are remembering out of proportion with what reality is, which lends you the impression that you must escape what you remember. And it's true, because your version of memory is very inaccurate. Allow me to continue. You are not the only beings awakening. There are 20,000 in a form that are similar to what you are experiencing. You are essentially different families within a greater family of sorts. You remember many of each other eventually, and all of you care and love more than you hate and resent. Until you trust what I just said, you will be given very little else to work with. That is all.